whether it's fires in Colorado or flooding in the northern parts of Florida. When natural disasters like this hit, America comes together. And we all recognize that there, but for the grace of God go I. We've got to make sure that we have each other's backs. And
welcome back to Harbor. Late today, President Obama was in Colorado Springs, where he surveyed the devastation caused by raging wildfires in that state. He also took the time to meet with and thank first responders there. President Obama declared the wildfires a major disaster and offered federal aid to help state and local recovery efforts. More than 30,000 people have already been evacuated from their homes, but there's nothing like the power of the presidency when natural disasters strike. And a presidential visit highlights the unique edge an incumbent candidate has. Erin McPike joins us now. She's a reporter for Real Clear Politics. Sam Stein's political reporter for the Huffington Post. There is perhaps no more potent example of the power of incumbency than in that great movie, which lasts even today, The Candidate. Robert Redford plays a young liberal California lawyer trying to knock off an entrenched U.S. senator. This short clip in the campaign playing tees up the scene. Let's listen.
Angeles International Airport. For those of you going on with us to San Diego, our scheduled departure time will be in 15 minutes.
I'll get off. There's been a change of plan.
And welcome to Los Angeles.
Get off? What about the group in San Diego? Never mind that. We've got a fire in Malibu. It's perfect.
With that, the campaign team tears up the schedule and rushes the candidate to the scene of the fire. But he wasn't the only one with that idea. And let's watch what the incumbent does.
So that you lose the root system that keeps the water in the ground in the first place. That's why this brush hole dries out. And of course, you need a parachute. You know who that is? Yeah. Smokey the Bear. All right, gentlemen, can we have your attention? The senator's going to make a statement. Go to the swing. Bill, hit him with the debate. Hello. How are you? I'm still hoping for a chance to debate you.
Don't blame me up here. Hi, Jack. Glad to see you got your wetsuit on. All right, now, I will. Everybody set. I will make this very brief. I have been on the phone to the president, and 1 hour from now, Malibu will be declared a national disaster area.
Sam Stein, you know, sometimes these things go in cycles. Then it was this conservative Republican who was taking advantage of a natural disaster and his chopper and his federal aid. Now we have a progressive president out there, a centrist of the left, I might say, a center-left president doing the same. It's very hard for Mitt Romney to compete with a president like this we're watching, who goes to the scene, shows up, shows he's on the job.
Correct, because you look presidential, and it's very tough for Mitt Romney to do that when Barack Obama is the president. You know, there's very little practical benefit to Obama showing up at the scene, save, of course, drawing national attention to it, maybe getting some charitable contributions for the recovery, perhaps pushing for relief funds. But it's a great photo op, and it shows, for a lot of people, the essence of leadership, and that's what Obama's going for.
Compare it to George W. Bush.
Well, I mean, that was the exact opposite, where you flew over a disaster area, you didn't actually step foot in one, and it seemed like he just didn't care about the plight of the people who were literally drowning in New Orleans. And, you know, these things work both ways. You can actually draw away attention or resources from the disaster. There's a school of thought that says you don't want to land in the disaster zone because people who are there should be focused on helping out with the disaster, not the president's visit. At the same time, Bush got criticized for not stepping down there, and there's a big political risk for not actually getting your hands dirty or at least getting involved.
Yeah. You know, Woody Allen said 80% of life is showing up. I'm totally with him. Your thoughts, Erin?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're the president, you're going to be criticized either way, whether you look like you're grandstanding or, you know, looking callous. And it's better to be criticized for grandstanding and at least being there. And so it might be that Republicans are criticizing him because he's going out to a swing state to show some respect for the people of Colorado.
I forgot it's a swing state.
It is. 9 electoral votes, and it's looking like it's headed the president's way. A lot of Republicans think that President Obama might soon have Colorado sewn up, but of course the Romney campaign is competing there. But you listen to the Republican National Committee.
Look at those fires, geez. Go ahead.
And they think that Obama is better off than Mitt Romney in Colorado, but the Romney campaign still thinks they have a good shot there, but it is a swing state.
Well, as you said, Erin, it didn't take long for conservatives to criticize President Obama's first actual visit to Colorado. The state's former governor, Bill Owens, called it a, quote, distraction. Some conservatives blame Obama for not spending more money on a federal fleet of air tankers. that fights fires. Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper was asked about this particular piece of right-wing criticism. Here's his rather brilliant response.
Were these same conservatives that have been so worried about the Obama administration spending too much money, or are these different conservatives?
You know, it is amazing, Sam, and the ironies are always in politics, but they're particularly brutal when it comes to emergencies. People that hate the federal government, despise Washington, are on the phone in seconds with the 911 call when they want the federal money. And I don't blame them.
Correct.
But there is an absolute inconsistency there. Yes.
Yeah, well, two things. One is it's changed a little bit recently, where disaster relief funds used to be a very nonpartisan thing. Nowadays, you actually have to find pay-fors for them in Congress because they don't want to appropriate more money. So it's become a bit more contentious. But with respect to the president showing up in Colorado, had he not shown up, the criticism of him would have been 10 times worse. You know, it's a very delicate thing. There's a very delicate thing here. Obama, when he went down to the Gulf when the oil spill was happening, everyone was worried about whether he would distract resources, whether he went too late. Ed Rendell, in his most recent book, on his book tour, says, if Bill Clinton was president, he would have put on a wetsuit and plugged the well himself. There's always second guessing and Monday morning quarterbacking when these things happen. But Aaron's right. Better to show up and get the criticism from grandstanding than to not show up and seem like you're uncaring about the whole crisis.
Ed Rendell really does think that Bill Clinton was Superman, so it's very concerning. Anyway, President George W. Bush has become the textbook case for how not to react to a natural disaster. This photo, mentioned a moment ago, shows Bush surveying the damage done by Hurricane Katrina as he flew over New Orleans in Air Force One. The image came to symbolize the criticism that Bush was out of touch. After he left the presidency, Bush said the flyover and letting the photographer get his picture was a, quote, huge mistake. I want to go back to something that Aaron pointed out. You're going to get heat either way, and I think this is important. LBJ, one of these scenes, showed up. I thought if President Bush, to go back to something really important, Katrina, with all those African-American people there, with their kids dying, it looked like, dehydrating at that terrible place they were all stuck at, if he had shown up there in a helicopter, like this guy in the movie, with lots of water, just bring in truckloads of water, just bottles of water for people, just so they could get through the days ahead and they wouldn't dehydrate. I don't care. Somebody might have yelled at him, but the country would have said, damn it, we got a president.
Yeah, well, and you bring up LBJ in 1965, who went down to New Orleans during Hurricane Betsy, and he said, I am here. I am your president. I want to make sure that the federal government is working for you. I think the difference is LBJ went, he got on the ground, he shook people's hands, and President Bush didn't. I mean, the response in Louisiana, the editorials that came out in 1965 after LBJ did that were great for LBJ, whereas President Bush had a huge media crisis on his hand after the fact. Yeah. You look at the difference between those two, it's no question that President Obama had to go to Colorado.
Good for you. I'm good for you. I would applaud right now. This is the kind of thing I applaud on this show. When somebody has a sense of history. Well, you're going to be big time someday, young lady. You're going to be the... No, I'm serious. Sam Stein, she one-upped you because she talks about the real role model, which is LBJ.
Huey Long had to draw LBJ down to the coast. He wasn't going to go up first. And he said, if you come down here, you could beat anybody, including Eisenhower. Okay. So it wasn't that clear-cut.
Okay, yeah, you share the title. You share the title for greatness. Anyway, thank you. Happy weekend, Aaron McPike and Sam Stein. Up